The House and Senate have just approved a $484 billion deal that will give you access to an additional $1,000 stimulus check if you meet the eligibility requirements for the EIDL grant. I'll cover how you know if you qualify and what you need to do to get this money. Please watch until the end because you'd actually be surprised. You may qualify without even realizing it because you don't need to be a business in the traditional sense to qualify for this $1,000. Hi, I'm Erika Kullberg. I'm an attorney, and on this channel I cover personal finance, and I'll be keeping you updated on all things related to these stimulus packages. Now, I've read the entire bill for you since that's what law school taught me, and I'm going to break this bill down into very simple, non-legal terms so that you can know whether you're eligible for this $1,000 and how to apply if you are. Just to give you a big picture overview, this bill that the Senate and House just passed contains 5 main things. It adds another $310 billion to the Paycheck Protection Program, and then an additional $10 billion to the EIDL grants. It also has $50 billion for the disaster loan program, $75 billion for healthcare providers, and $25 billion for testing for the illness. I'll do another video where I give you a comprehensive overview of everything in that bill, but for this video we're just focusing on these grants, which would give you a minimum of $1,000, how to know if you qualify for these grants, and how to apply to get this $1,000 stimulus check. It's important to know that while these will be administered by the SBA, you don't have to be a business with employees to qualify and get that $1,000. This bill puts an additional $10 billion towards the Emergency Economic Injury Disaster Loans grant. Any money you get from this is a grant and does not have to be repaid. This is really important to know because there's a lot of misinformation out there. You might hear it being called a loan or an advance, but the key thing to remember is it doesn't have to be repaid. Since I read every word, I'll show you where it says this directly in the bill. An applicant shall not be required to repay any amounts of an advance provided under this subsection. The maximum you can request is $10,000, but now the SBA has put some restrictions on that, which I'll talk about a bit later. Now that you know the 3 key points, let's talk about who's eligible. There are 2 things to determine whether you're eligible. First, you have to fall under one of these categories. You can pause the video to take a look, but I want to talk about this first one here because you could have a sole proprietorship without realizing it. So I really want to dive into what exactly a sole proprietorship means for the purposes of getting this $1,000. This comes directly from the SBA, who's going to be administering these $1,000 stimulus checks. You don't have to take any formal action to form a sole proprietorship. As long as you are the only owner, the status automatically comes from your business activities. In fact, you may already own one without knowing it. If you are a freelance writer, for example, you are a sole proprietor. So if you have a lemonade stand, you're a sole proprietor. If you sell something on Etsy or sell your services on Fiverr, you're a sole proprietor. I just wanted to make this really clear because there are a lot of people out there who are eligible for this grant but don't actually realize it because they don't realize that this is what the definition of sole proprietorship is. This bill doesn't include any minimum revenue requirement, meaning that if you made 50 cents from your lemonade stand, there's nothing in the bill that's preventing you from applying for this $1,000. Okay, so going back to this list, step 1 of determining your eligibility is making sure that you fall under one of these categories. Step 2 is that you have to have started before January 31st of this year. So if you started your side hustle or your lemonade stand on January 30th, then you're clear. So if you're eligible, then you'll apply and they're supposed to provide you with the funds within 3 days after they receive your application. You're allowed to use the funds for 5 different things. First, for providing paid sick leave to employees. Second, for maintaining payroll to retain employees. Third, to meet the increased costs to obtain materials that are unavailable. Fourth, for making rent or mortgage payments. And fifth, for repaying obligations that can't be met due to revenue losses. So I mentioned earlier that the bill says that you can apply for a maximum of $10,000, but the SBA has actually put some restrictions on this. What they've done is they've put a cap of $1,000 max per employee up to 10 employees, so $10,000. If you're a freelancer or side hustler, then you can apply for $1,000. If you have a business with 5 employees, then you can apply for up to $5,000. And if you have 10 or more employees, then the max you can apply for is $10,000. Next, let's talk about how to apply. If you already submitted an application in the last round, then you do not have to reapply. The SBA website says that applicants who have already submitted their applications will continue to be processed on a case-by-case basis. If you haven't already applied, then this is how you're going to apply. First, you're going to go to this website link, which I'll also leave in the description below. Right now it doesn't show the application, but as soon as applications open back up, it'll allow you to apply, and applications could open back up as early as tomorrow. Basically, now that the Senate and House have passed the bill, as soon as the President approves and signs the bill, it becomes a law, and then soon after, these applications are going to open back up for the program. Once applications do open back up, this is how the form will look. First, it'll ask you what kind of entity you are. So for example, if you have a side hustle, then you'll click the second option. If that describes you, then on this page where it asks for your business legal name, you'll just put your own name, and then for here, you'll put your own social security number. I want to be respectful of your time and keep this video short, so I'm not going to read you all of the questions, but I do think it's important for you to know all of the questions in advance so that when these applications do open up, you're well equipped and know exactly how you're going to respond and can get that application in as quickly as possible. So what I've done is I've actually spent the last few hours typing out all of those questions that you're going to get asked, so you can actually go to my website to see that list of questions. Just go to plugandlaw.com/stimulus. Just to give you some perspective, that $10 billion under the CARES Act for these grants ran out in just 14 days, and I'm thinking that this new $10 billion is going to run out even quicker, so you just want to be really prepared. You have to know what your responses are going to be so that as soon as that application goes live, you can put your application in and get your $1,000. Also, if the SBA pulls your credit, that's a good sign, and you should be getting your funds just a few days after based on people who have received grants from that initial $10 billion. I'll be doing a summary of that $484 billion deal that was just passed, and I'm also going to give you updates on the $2,000 stimulus bill that I talked about in this video, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be up to date with all of that. If this was helpful, the best thing you can do for me is to hit the like button, and remember, I'm just a lawyer trying to bring valuable content to you, and I am not a financial advisor. On that note, I'll see you in these two videos.